Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is Joan, and we're here to talk about student roles in digital communities. We're still working on our book, Digital Literacy for the School Librarian. Can you see that in my camera? Okay, so the first thing we thought we'd do is do some participating because we are talking about participatory digital citizenship. And the big thing here is we want to be consumers, but we also want not only for ourselves as adults and professionals, but also for our students to be consumers and contributors. So based on some of the information in our book, I turned it into a little Kahoot game. So please be patient with us because we practice, but doing Kahoot over a webinar is going to be interesting. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Now I'm going to stop share. So I'll stop share.
Okay.
Share now.
And I've got the sound, and there we go. Okay, this is my Kahoot account, and I do have Kahoot Pro. I just did this because they were offering this 2-for-1 special. So my computer teacher and I took advantage of that. And I know probably Kahoot, everyone's heard of it at least in somewhat, but you can create your own or you can use what's there in their library, and I like to often use the ones that are there and edit them. And then I use them as examples because I have my kids create Kahoots, and often we'll try one out and the spelling is wrong, the grammar is wrong, and sometimes the answers are wrong and they get really irritated. So it's a really good teaching moment to say, well, we don't want ours like that. So here we're going to play contribute or consume. There are some situations here, and we want you to choose whether it's a contribution or a consumption. So we've got to set it up. It'll take me a minute. We didn't want to set it up ahead of time because the Kahoot music gets really annoying, and they have not changed that music for years since I've been playing Kahoot, at least 3 years. Okay, we're going to play classic. So you'll see on the screen the question, and then you're going to join with a pin. There's your pin on your device. And if you have more than one device, you might want to do this. You can do it on your phone, your tablet. Enter the pin, and then you'll be asked to enter your name. And no nodding in names because it will tell me, and yes, it's private.
Hey, Joan. You might need to turn down the music on your computer.
All right, the volume, okay. How's that?
Still really loud.
Still loud? Okay, because I can barely hear you.
All right, so let's stop share real quick, and then when you share back, don't share your computer's music, okay?
Oh, all right. Got it. So I stopped share. I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to share my computer sound.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's try it. Is that better?
Oh, so much better. Thanks.
All right. See what I mean about the annoying music? We wish you could pick your music for every game you play, but they don't have that feature.
So are you guys familiar with Kahoot? The link to Kahoot to play as a student is on your agenda today, or you can just go to kahoot.it on your browser.
Which you should be seeing right now on your screen, and then the game pin is there.
And once you've entered your game pin, then you need to put in your nickname, and make sure you put in a nice nickname, something for yourself, your name, your real name. All right, I'm in.
Oh, and they said Julie was, oh no, probably just because you're the first one, they flashed that little warning.
Yeah, I'm not.
There, Aaron's in.
Yay, Michelle.
Do I have to open another computer and do this in another computer?
You just need another browser, Carmen. Just do it in another browser. one of the nice things about Kahoot is that you can, if you have it on a mobile device, you can set it up so that you can play it, that students can play it remotely without you having to turn it on. Have you played that yet, Joan, with it?
No, we haven't done it that way yet.
So if you want to use it as a tutorial or a practice, you don't have to run it then.
We just thought we'd be fun trying to play a game through Zoom. So thank you for experimenting with us. And again, even content may not be real exciting. When the kids see that it's a game, they get excited. I have to tell you, today we started a novel in verse by K.A. Holt, H-O-L-T. Some of my kids came in and they looked at my board real fast and they're like, oh, we're doing Kahoot? And I'm like, oh, no, that's the author's name, Holt, not Hoot.
Oh, funny.
But they were excited that there was potentially going to be a Kahoot game. And again, we don't use it all the time. You know, other teachers at my school use it too. Use it sparingly so they still love it.
All right, so we'll go ahead and play with the three of us. And so what's cool is those of you that aren't joined in, you'll be able to actually see Joan's side of the screen. So you'll see what it looks like when you are running a game. So go ahead and start it, Joan. Oh,
Right.
Carmen popped in.
Hi, Carmen. So what, for those, I think everybody's in, well, maybe not.
We're missing Carrie.
Okay, here we go. It's short. Contribute or consume. We only have 5 questions, so are you ready? If you search Google Maps for directions, is that an example of contribute or consume? You click on the triangle for contribute and the diamond for consume. Again, on your screen, and whoever's not playing, you don't see the screen I am showing you right now. Oh, excellent. And of course, the check mark says correct. I have to say, we've started this crazy thing. I have a seal clap when 100% of the class gets the answer right. You know, I make this crazy sound and they all get Jolly Ranchers. They like that. All right. Yeah, I tell them to go home and brush your teeth because we give out a lot of Jolly Ranchers. And Julie is in the lead. Now, you have to know it's not only correct, but who does it first. Share an SLJ article on Twitter. What's that an example of? Contribute or consume? Excellent. Oh, you guys are good. Next one. There's your scoreboard, and you guys are seeing all that too. Create a website to share original poetry. Contribute or consume? Oh, fast, fast, fast. When everybody answers, it doesn't take all the time. Now, here's the other cool thing. Because I am in the pro version of it, you get great graphics to put in. Well, we are on a streak, 3 in a row. When you like a Facebook post, contribute or consume? Now, again, some of these are not cut and dry, as I can see by my results, and we could discuss this. When you like a Facebook post, okay, you are contributing because you're putting in an opinion, but you also are consuming because you're looking at someone else's contribution. I think this could go either way. All right, there's our scoreboard, and here's our last question. When you post how-to videos on YouTube, okay, contribute or consume. So we're done, and then there's a podium, of course. I owe Julie, Michelle, and Aaron some Jolly Ranchers. When I see you at Tie Guys. Okay, but the cool thing too is you can get some more results. I can see Michelle was on fire. They love getting that on fire. And with the pro version, you can view a report, save the results, play again, or whatever. And you can kind of use this for some formative assessment. I did that even before I had the pro version because I was looking and counting like how many kids got it 100% right, the whole class, or if I was only getting 1 or 2, then that was a reteachable moment, that's for sure. So I'm going to X out of this and stop my screen sharing, and we'll go back to Julie's. Okay, Julie?
Yep.
Oh, we have a few more people who joined us, I think.
Yes, we have. Alyssa's here and Nola's here. Yes, Alyssa and Nola have joined us too. So welcome, you guys.
Yeah. So that was just a quick example, and I took those, I think I may have edited a little bit, but I took those directly out of our text, the Digital Citizenship in Action. And if you look to the right here, it says, let's use our chat and complete at least one of these following sentence stems. In my online communities, I play the role of consumer when I, or in my online communities, I play the role of contributor when I, or my peers influence my online behavior by. So we're going to give you a few minutes. Just pick one of those that appeals to you and give us an example. Oh, Julie, thank you. Are you going to put those in the chat?
I am.
Great. And of course, mine with students would be, you want to know when we creep around? I'm like, yeah, I do. Because a lot of times I think, especially for kids, they think more about what they find there instead of what they put there. So that's, our big difference. And that is also something that I think needs direct teaching, not just consuming, but also contributing to your communities online. Okay. When I use Keller Coastline, yes, and safe travel. Carrie, my peers influence my behavior when I read other posts and am motivated to post myself. Yeah, I agree. I find that too. Or when I'm motivated to make a comment because I've discovered something new.
Michelle, you're only a contributor when you're forced.
And that's okay. Everybody has different comfort levels. But again, for successful online communities, we need both of these actions. And I think Dr. Mattson in her book made a very good case for how that needs to be not only directly taught to the kids, but modeled.
Oh, Carmen, yes, your happy birthday posts. Yes. You are a contributor when you wish someone a happy birthday on Facebook or on other social media. And Erin, you're a consumer when you're researching lesson plans. Totally.
Okay, just another.
Now you know when you like a post, you're contributing. Yes, I think the former electronic resources coordinator for the state library, Jane Healy, she is like such a master of social media, and she is so good about liking people's posts on Facebook and sharing people's posts on Facebook. And so I always think about her as she is such a good. She's really good at contributing on Facebook.
Yeah, both sides. And she's a good one to follow, guys. She's pretty much an expert on children's literature and a writer also.
Oh yeah, that too. And a librarian. And just
and
an all-around nice person.
Right. Not that we need to brag up Jane, but she's also is my visiting online poet. She is a published poet. Okay.
Nola's got a really great one. She encourages comments and sharing things that she would feel would be info that would help someone or something they'd be interested in. And Michelle used Follett's OER resources for a 3rd grade class.
Oh yeah, cool. Well, great.
And I think these are things that are really, good to think about a little bit, and and especially have these conversations with our learners too, because, like, Erin, you noted, that when you like a post, you now know you're contributing, and so kind of having that what is contributing online and what is consuming online.
And sometimes it's not so black and white, actually, too. That's another thing to remember. So as we go down here today, we want to talk about effective versus ineffective discussion. And Julie and I were talking earlier. We know when you put politics up, you get a lot of discussion, you get a lot of comments, no matter what social media platform you're doing. But in addition to just plain old politics and elections, there are good examples in online communities of what's effective and what's ineffective, and Dr. Mattson does a great job of giving us some information and some ways to teach that with the kids. She uses note cards in some instances and has a really good activity all spelled out. But one of the things she talks about too is that when you're doing, or when you're involving yourself or your kids are involved, what is effective and ineffective? Some points to consider. Are you having a conversation and a dialogue, or are you simply, in some cases, shouting at people? Is it one way? Are you listening to what really, and we're reading, but listening to what really the conversation is? Some of the things that happen online are things that we as professionals and adults wouldn't do face to face. And I think sometimes the kids lose sight of that, but we have a lot of adults who lose sight of that also. So when you're commenting back and forth and you're contributing to your discussion, is it purposeful? Are you on topic? And I am so guilty of this. I am like a jackrabbit going from one topic to another because it reminded me of something. And I try really hard not to do that online. Also, we're all entitled to our own opinions, but it's important that you state an opinion based on experience and evidence rather than repeat something. And of course, we have a lot of fake news out there, but repeat something or use evidence that is not verified. Again, credible sources, even in these online discussions. The other thing is, of course, your respectful counter argument. Not that, oh, you're an idiot type thing, and I'm sure you've all read those types of things, but you're, again, entitled to your opinion, but let's do that respectfully. And then also asking questions to clarify, did you mean, or I think I did that recently, actually, on our Facebook group, because I was following some comments about, the new computer education law that has gone into effect in Wyoming, and you guys are working up toward that. What actually was involved in that law? And somebody, thank you, answered that perfectly for me, so I could understand it. And something that's coming up right here on the left, ISTE has a new podcast, and it's by the first guest is our very own Dr. Kristen Mattson, the author of our book. And the podcast series is called Your EdTech Questions. And I thought it was great that she was the first one on there. And it's pretty much talking about what we're talking about today. It just got started. It is free to listen to. You don't have to be an ISTE member. So we included that link for you to come back to later, or maybe if you watch them or follow them on Facebook or Twitter, you'll find another topic that's interesting to you. So back to this ineffective. Oh, I told you I was a rabbit. I jump all over. But anyway, I found this comment, or actually it was a post, and then it had comments on a professional Facebook page. And Julie, if you go back up, I don't quite remember what date did I say that was. Did I put that in here? Oh yeah, it was on February 15th. This post had 5.6K shares and 1.5K comments. So obviously this post got a lot of people's attention, and it was something that people got very emotional about. I just copied a little bit of it to show you that the original post talked about a teacher who did this experiment with his kids' cell phones. In class, they're not allowed to have them, but on this one day, he had them turn them on, and then he had them come up to the board and put it marked down under what type of message they got each time an alert went off. Now, the board, I know it's not a great picture, but I think I might have put the link to this. And it's kind of messy, but again, the kids were doing this writing, okay? And with all those comments, as you go through, of course, there's some positive ones. But again, is this a dialogue? Is this a conversation? Is this respectful? Here are just a couple at the bottom. Having computers in the classroom is just as bad. Kids do not have to think anymore, and a lot of teachers use it so they don't have to teach, period. Now again, these are members of a professional community. I don't believe this is just the general public who had, you know, an interest or would even think to look in this professional Facebook group. Here's another one. Lindsay, I don't know if you can see it on the board, but Lindsay had a lot of tweets from her parents. It says, or no, they were texts. And Lindsay's dad, 53. Lindsay's dad was obviously not happy with her. 53 text messages, WTF. I don't think my dad has texted me 53 times in my life. So again, the teacher's post was, he was trying to make a point of how many times we get alerts on all the different social platforms and how much the kids' attention is drawn to all those things. But one of the interesting points, and he pointed it out in some of his comments further down, is that, you know, it wasn't just kids who are texting each other or sending, you know, Snapchat things. There were a lot of parents involved in what was going on, and parents who are texting or trying to contact their kids all day long during school also. And again, there are legitimate reasons for that. But then he says later on that Lindsay had texted her dad and said to keep texting her as kind of a joke, because she kind of was telling him what they were doing in class. So he says, ignore Lindsay's data there earlier. And here's one more. It says, you would expect kids to be texting each other. Why is there so much texting from parents and family during the school day? And again, I guess I wasn't surprised at the reaction, and that we've got people not on topic. We've got people certainly not using their online etiquette or being effective in this discussion. And then it wasn't too much later that I found more than one post and discussion going on about Dr. Seuss and the current controversy over Dr. Seuss and Read Across America Day. And again, these are professionals. So when you're teaching your kids and you're wanting a mentor text, we have many to show them that would be positive, and sadly many that we could show them that would be negative examples. So go ahead in the chat or just unmute yourself and give us some comments about this. Have you seen this? Have you seen other things? Have you had this come up with your students, and how have you handled that? You go ahead, you can unmute your mic or go ahead and put it in the chat, guys.
In the middle school, the cell phones have to stay in the lockers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I haven't seen this at all. At the high school, though, we have a big issue with cell phones, where recently now, whenever we're testing, the teachers have to have every single person's cell phone because a lot of cheating was going on, unfortunately. So,
right.
Yeah, but you see the copiers, because it's a one-to-one computers for students, and the copiers located in the library, so students are coming in and out constantly. And there's a few times I look over and I'm like, hey, don't forget to get your copy there, because they're so in their cell phones and everything. But so it doesn't surprise me at all. Only the one with the Lindsay with 53 texts from her dad, that kind of surprises me. But
and again, the teacher who posted this said, you know, ignore that, because it was kind of a setup that Lindsay
oh, okay, sorry.
orchestrated. Yeah, she kind of did it. But again, he then had them color code to say who they were from. So I think if you go back up in the text, it tells you a little bit more about that. But again, I've seen since this post, I've seen other teachers post that they have tried this same experiment. And again, I don't think it's, you know, to say, this is why we don't allow you to use phones. I think to me it was an eye-opener to look at the data and to see how much activity kids are involved in. And I would look at that and say, whoa, how can I use these phones for what we're doing in class? Because they certainly are paying attention to their phones. Now, I don't have anywhere, and I don't even have 75% of my kids that would have a cell phone with them in junior high, but I'm pretty sure high school, it would be much higher. And our high school has different cell phone rules than we have in the junior high.
Did he say anything about what the students' reaction was from visually seeing this?
Well, he does just state it was a huge eye-opener for students, staff, and parents.
And Nola notes that a few of the kids in her school were found using in the bathroom watching Netflix. Otherwise, it's not a big problem. Oh.
Well, you have to give them credit for like thinking out of the box. I mean, to me, it's just another tool. The things we did, might have been on paper, but kids are kids. And again, though, to use this tool and to use it in a positive way.
And Carrie notes that cell phones are probably the most frustrating thing she deals with. Her students are supposed to turn them in when they come to the library or any classroom. And I think about personally, like I spend a lot of time doing teacher professional development, and almost all of the teachers that I work with have a phone with them. And it's like we all end up, having to be able to manage our cell phones when we're in meetings or we're trying to learn something. And so I think it's really interesting, should we be teaching our learners how to manage that rather than banning them entirely, and how do you put them away in class because so that you can focus, or that kind of thing. And so just an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, and I know also at my school we've had problems with teachers and paraprofessionals inappropriately using their phones. So again, it's like that old example that you don't build a swimming pool and not teach the kids how to swim, not give them swimming lessons. So I think our adults and our kids fall into this same thing. Maybe we need more swimming lessons than we've been giving. And I think that's what Dr. Mattson is talking about. I don't even remember the source of that analogy, but you build a pool to be used. And this is definitely more complicated than swimming lessons.
Can I add train the lifeguards? Because as teachers, we need to be all on board with how we're handling the cell phone uses.
Exactly. Oh, that's a great addition to that analogy.
Exactly, and have those strategies, because I know a number, like even my own kids will come home and some teachers don't care if they have cell phones in class and other teachers really do, and so it's not consistent even in their building.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is definitely a topic we can talk about a lot, but we're back to that effective and ineffective conversations in our online communities. I love that he did this experiment and brought it up. It helped me think of a lot of things. And when I started reading the comments, though, again, in a professional community, the one thing I was surprised about was to see the WTF. I'm sorry. We're professionals. So again, train the lifeguards. Now, the other thing that Dr. Mattson talks about a lot in this effective, ineffective, and whether you consume or contribute is that not only does it need to be directly taught, but it needs to be modeled and practiced. And a couple of the strategies that I use and I really like, one is called I do, we do, you do, and I've linked a video there for you, so that you model. You give them guided practice, and then you give them the gradual release of responsibility. Because again, that's our whole point, getting them to be independent thinkers and independent learners. And then there's also an article where some new school of thought, where I've linked there, and it says, you do, no, we do, I do, a strategy for productive struggle. Because one of the things that some educators and some researchers have come up is that we don't allow our kids to struggle enough to do that independent thinking and to do that figure it out on your own type thing. So one of the, if you look like in the second paragraph, it's called Flipping the Gradual Release Model. So I thought you might find that article interesting too. And I tried it out, I have to tell you, last week on my kids, because we were learning how to do the power words on News ELA. But I did not go through it. I just said, here's your assignment. And when you go to activities, they're used to doing the quiz. I want you to click on power words. And this is, you know, and I gave them, I'd like you to get, you know, 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, go to it. It was pretty interesting. They figured out that the power words were highlighted in bold, they were underlined. When you clicked on them, not only did it give you the definition within the text, there was a little speaker there. So it read aloud the power word, the vocabulary to them. They didn't struggle too much, but it's an interesting way to try things out. So if we want to go back out of the article, there we go. Now, for modeling or giving them some guided practice, immediately when I was thinking about this, I thought about SIRS Issues Researcher. This is an online database that's provided for the host state of South Dakota through the South Dakota State Library. And they have always done this. They have a question on their homepage. It's called That's Debatable, and it's a different question all the time. It's something about kids on there. Anyway, the kids are to answer this question, and I think a great way to model and teach them is you simply don't answer the question without experience or evidence. And so, of course, you're right here in SIRS Issues Researcher. They have the pro-con. The kids could stay right in here and research that before they say yes, no, or unsure, before they vote. Again, I would like them to, this is an online community, and they have results from this, but I'd like them to be informed before they say yes or no. We all know kids are just quick to click. So to me, that's a great way to model using that resource. And I'm thinking that some of you might have other online community websites or apps that you use with your students to maybe model this, or that have this type of question coming up, that you could show them that it's more than your opinion. And that respectful discourse, it's using experience or evidence. That's credible evidence. Not just because, you know, my brother Joe told me this 3 years ago. Maybe Joe was right, but prove it. So you can unmute yourself or go to the chat again, have some conversation about this. Has anybody used this one from the SIRS Issues Researcher? I know not every state offers this one. Somewhere within all those online resources, each of the 3 states offer, though I'm sure there's something similar. Or you could make this up yourself and do it on a Google form or whatever. Again, to give them modeling and guided practice in a safe environment. There's no name that they put into this or anything like that. And everything we're talking about tonight comes from chapters 3 to 4 of our digital citizenship book. A couple other places, I'm just going to jump ahead, but you know, go ahead and interrupt me. I'm not seeing any more coming through the chat, but Julie's helping, right?
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Oh, good. Erin says she has a high school teacher that uses SIRS all the time, and she's also the debate teacher. Nice.
Good.
And
Good.
North Dakota, do you have something that's comparable to SIRS Discover or SIRS Issues Researcher?
Like pro-con, there's many of them out there.
You know, our databases have really gotten thin, I feel. You know, I think we did have pro-con at one time, but we don't anymore.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, the good news is there are other resources out there that are for free. So in our follow-up activities for today, I have linked the first 2 that I'm asking to explore, in whether you're doing this for the class assignment or not. These come from recommendations by Dr. Mattson right out of their chapters. Thanks, Julie.
Mhm.
And of course, they're for older kids, so they're the New York Times, but it also might give the elementary teachers ideas and they could adapt. So there's opinion pages, room for debate. The other one, okay, the New York Times does some really cool stuff. There is,
Wonderopolis.
well, the Learning Net, so it's Room for Debate and the Learning Network. Those are
okay.
both New York Times. And then another free one, and this definitely works for elementary, and that's why I threw it in there, is Wonderopolis. Wonderopolis is a wonder of the day. It's a question of the day. And if you know about this, let me know in the chat or just unmute yourself. And these are questions that actually come from kids. So when you're working on how to write a good question and be a contributing member of an online community, Wonderopolis is great because you can submit your question. You can also vote on questions that have been submitted to show that you're interested in that. And we like Wonderopolis too because it reads aloud. It often has videos, and they have some vocabulary work you could do. There's a little quiz you can take. This is something I put up on the smart board, and each day, I mean, we sometimes do it once a week, sometimes less, but then the kids run it. I just say, who wants to run the board, and wonder of the day. And some kids are so interested too. You can search Wonderopolis. Because when you're coming up with a question, I always say, you need to make sure they did not already answer your question. That's being a responsible contributor to the Wonderopolis community. Don't keep putting in the same question that's already been asked or already been answered. So even 8th graders, even though some of this is, some of the topics are definitely elementary, I'd say K through 8, with the younger ones, of course, with teacher and librarian help, but there's also a community for Camp Wonderopolis for the summer. We never go to the store. And they, you can, what are you wondering? That's where you submit your question. You can explore the wonders. So again, here's another one where you could model and it could be guided when you're teaching kids. It doesn't have to always be Twitter or Facebook or Snapchat when we're talking about online communities. Does anybody else use any other ones? Especially for elementary. Yeah, what I like about Wonderopolis too is no login whatsoever. You just open it and go. Okay, well, again, chat with us. Unmute your mic. I always, not only am I a rabbit, I'm sorry, but I do talk a mile a minute. So one of the things that, and whether you do this for the assignment or not, one of the things I think would be interesting is to use the sentence frames that Dr. Mattson created, and they're on page 71. I have seen some other things go through Future Ready Librarians and some other online communities where you help model for your kids and teach your kids how to respond to blogs, how to respond in a respectful, effective way to posts. And so one of the things I'd like us to try for this is that you begin a discussion by sharing an article, a quote, or a question that's interesting to you. And then once your cohort colleagues contribute to that, you can curate that and use that as an example for your kids, as a teaching example. We've had some great ones that are already up on our Facebook page. And one of those is been up recently about OER. Where are we going to find the time for OER? Where are teachers going to find the time for OER? I mean, that's an interesting discussion, and we all bring different things to that discussion. So, and of course, anything you discover, please put it in the Facebook group, tweet it, making sure you use Reach Out Libs. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that? And of course, if it's a tweet, Wakelet is the easiest thing to curate tweets on, and Facebook. Well, we have a quiet group tonight.
We do.
That's okay, guys.
I really like the sentence frames also, just because it's such a good way to help all of our learners to how to start that effective discussion and how to respond. And I would see this even being useful in like your kid blog, to be able to,
yes.
Have you used it with that?
Yeah, well, I haven't used these, but I have to tell you, when we did a kid blog with our Global Read Aloud kids, my kids started by doing a post to introduce themselves. And our partner teacher, Mrs. Carr, did a wonderful job of having her kids respond. And I'm pretty sure by the way the responses came up that they did some, pre-posting work on that, and they followed some patterns like these sentence frames. And so that made it even easier then for my kids to respond to the response.
Nice.
But yeah, it takes a lot of conversation and it takes modeling. And of course, with Kid Blog, it's that gradual release because nothing's posted without teacher approval.
Yes.
So there are lots of ways to do this without having it go public.
Well, and even like if you're using Google Classroom and you've got the stream, it's a good way to have that conversation. And Carrie says it's a very polite and respectful way to respond. Very different than many Facebook responses. Totally. And one of the things that, so I did some digital literacy training this weekend, and we were talking about different tests that the students use for website accuracy and authenticity, and we were talking about the FART test, which is we all know and love is the best, right, for middle schoolers. And
or crap. They like crap.
or crap. Don't forget. I know. Anytime that you can swear legally in school. But we talked about how important it is to make the connection between like the teacher was sharing how he has his students use the FART test when they're looking for information in class, that he's like, did you fart? When they bring it to him, he's like, did you fart? And so, as a reminder to make sure they verified it. And we talked about how important it is to make sure that we think about that in our personal lives too, and so we don't just associate like the FART test to research papers and schoolwork.
Exactly.
And these sentence frames, on Kid Blog I'm going to use my sentence frames, but on Facebook I'm going to be disrespectful and to kind of carry through that contributing conversation rather than not contributing in very and
right, in
most
all
of our
online communities. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, Carrie.
That's true, not just for kids, but again, as we talked about the lifeguards, for professionals and for parents to know this type of stuff too.
Yes.
So I could see a workshop, PTA meeting or something talking about this type of stuff. But we're getting toward the end here, Julie. So let's talk about upcoming events.
Yes, because we're getting, yes. So your assignment for this group, if you're doing for the graduate credit, is to create a discussion and do the sentence frames on 71. And I think it'd be fun even if you're not doing it for the graduate
Exactly.
credit to do this. And then see the contribution, how our colleagues contribute, and especially those that may not have been in the webinar, see if they go off off course and we're able to bring them back. That might be kind of fun. And then online discussion, you're going to share and discuss information you discover on and posts on the Reaching Out Facebook group or via Twitter with Reach Out Labs. And then upcoming events, we have February 1st through May 31st is the OER class, and we've really good stuff coming in on that so far. I've been really enjoying the Facebook and the tweets.
And we have one, actually, I think we have 2 people done already.
Yay! I love self-paced work. And then TIE conference is April 7th through the 9th in Rapid. I am sending out, I chatted with our staff who is working with me to get hotel rooms, and so we'll have confirmation numbers and everything out soon. And so for the TIE conference, you will have that graduate credit. There's a small assignment for after the TIE conference, and that needs to be finished by the 30th of April. And then if you're doing the webinar series for graduate credit, that too needs to be finished by the 30th of April. And you can watch the archive webinars. So that is, I think, everything that's.
Well, and then, of course, our last webinar will be April 4th. We said that, right? And
Probably not.
oh, okay. We're going to be talking more about PLNs and how, if you're not attending like TIE conference or any other conference, how can you can use your PLN to participate and to get some of that great information, whether you're there or not.
So awesome.
And any questions or comments?
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. I'm going to stop the recording and we'll see you on April 4th. And then we'll see some of you at the TIE conference.